We continue our work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center and now give the floor to Liashenko, Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesperson, with weekly updates about Russian military aggression in the eastern Ukraine.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We continue with our weekly briefings on Russia-Ukraine military conflict in eastern Ukraine. And let me give you a short update on events that took place between July 10th and 16th. Last week, the number of ceasefire violations committed by Russia-backed militants ranked 16 on Sunday, July 16th, and 35 on Friday, that is July 14th. Now coming to a more detailed review of enemy combat activities over the week, and we'll start with Lugansk sector. On July 10th, Russia-backed militants initiated a powerful mortar attack against Troitsky, having discharged a total of 45 mortar bombs just over 30 minutes. On July 11th, enemy forces engaged Novoalexandrivka and Novotoshkivske with mortars. On July 14th, at approximately 11:30 p.m., a subversive group of Russia-trained militants advanced the positions of Ukrainian armed forces near Novotoshkivske under cover fire of enemy snipers. Upon detecting enemy movements, the Ukrainian troops opened direct fire, resulting in a withdrawal of enemy attack in just a few hours. On July 15th, militants made another attempt to break through the defense lines of the Ukrainian armed forces. Shortly after midnight, another subversive group of no more than 7 operatives left the occupied town of Frunze, approached the observation post of Ukrainian troops near Krymske, and opened fire at our positions. Ukrainian defenders opened fire in response. An hour later, the enemy attack was successfully defeated, resulting in a final retreat of enemy troops at around 1 a.m. in the morning. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy ranged between 6 and 16. Now we go to Donetsk sector, and on July 12th, Russian proxies used main battle tanks to fire at the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in the vicinity of Lugansk. Starting from Thursday until Sunday, invaders opened fire at Avdiivka area. They were using small arms and grenade launchers multiple times, in addition to the occasional use of mortars and main battle tanks. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by enemy ranged between 2 and 16. As we go to Mariupol sector, on July 11th and 12th, militants have launched a medium-intensity mortar fire at Novotroitske and Novomikhailivka, respectively. On Thursday, pro-Russian militants opened mortar fire at Mariinka, Novomikhailivka and Shirokine, having fired a total of 50 mortar bombs. On July 14th and 15th, Russia-equipped militants engaged Krasnohorivka with mortars multiple times. On Saturday morning, invaders launched a powerful attack using 122mm artillery against Shirokine, having discharged a total of 45 shells. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy ranged between 3 and 20. Enemy continued to perform aerial surveillance of Ukrainian positions, and in fact, Ukrainian troops registered 12 episodes of enemy drones performing aerial reconnaissance along the front line. More than half of episodes accounted for the Donetsk sector. Now, a few words on Russian supplies to its proxies. The military intelligence of Ukraine reports further military assistance coming from Kremlin to its proxies in eastern Ukraine. Just over the last week, Russia has delivered 330 tons of fuel to the militants. Speaking of enemy losses, as reports, the total number of casualties among Russian proxies amounts to 1 killed and 18 wounded over the week. Besides, Ukrainian intelligence confirms the destruction of 2 Urals, that belonged to the militants. As for the combat casualties of Ukrainian armed forces, 2 Ukrainian servicemen were killed in action and 9 wounded in action last week. All the casualties were by the enemy hostile fire. Our hearts go with the families and friends of the fallen Ukrainian heroes who gave their life protecting Ukraine. Speaking of civilian casualties, last week 1 male civilian was injured in the conflict area. This incident occurred on July 16th on the territory that is not under control of the Ukrainian authorities. This is close to Marinka checkpoint. And as for the civilian buildings and infrastructure damage, last week a total of 11 private homes were damaged by enemy fire in the frontline area. They're located in Zolote, that is Lugansk sector, in Avdiivka, Donetsk sector, and in Marinka, which is the Mariupol sector. Also, Russian proxies damaged a local power line near Novobakhmutivka village in the Donetsk sector, which was immediately repaired by the Ukrainian emergency services. Now, that would be all for today, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.